September 14th, 1942, 6:30 a.m. The dawn light creeps over the horizon, casting a pale glow across the restless waves of the Pacific. Above the raging sea, at 12,000 feet, the cold air bites through the thin fabric of a fighter pilot's flight jacket. The faint hum of the twin engines vibrates through the cockpit of a Lockheed P-3-8 Lightning. In the seat, a 21-year-old second lieutenant. James Jimmy McAllister feels both nerves and anticipation dance in his veins. His first flight into combat, a mission that will unknowingly change aerial warfare forever, has just begun. Jimmy's hands tighten around the control stick as the formation slips into a loose, staggered V cloud streak past like ghostly ribbons in the early morning sky. You can almost feel the biting chill that seeps through to his skin, the adrenaline that sharpens every sense. The Pacific theater is unpredictable, vast and deadly, but Jimmy's heart pounds with a fierce determination. His orders are simple: escort the bombers over the Solomon Islands, keep them safe from the Japanese Zero fighters. Suddenly, on the horizon, a flicker the flash of enemy aircraft. Like predators waking, the Zeros slip into attack formation, fast and silent. The radio crackles. Bandits, 9 o'clock low. Jimmy's squadron snaps into action. The sky explodes into chaos, tracer rounds stitching bright red scars through the smoky haze. Jimmy feels his first pull of G-forces as he dives his inexperience countered only by instinct. But then something unexpected happens. As the enemy closes in, Jimmy reacts not with the usual dogfight tactics taught in training, but with a daring maneuver. A rapid diving attack, followed by a sharp climb away from the main engagement. He breaks free from the chaotic swirl of combat, drawing a group of enemy fighters after him, effectively pulling them away from the bombers. This split-second decision, born from fear and quick thinking, catches both sides off guard. The tactic exploits the P-38's superior speed and climb rate, allowing Jimmy and fellow pilots to strike hit-and-run blows and disengage before the enemy can respond effectively. Back on the carrier, squadron leaders watch the radio and radar with mounting disbelief. Was this reckless youth pioneering a new kind of fight in the skies? A tactic that would change the deadly dance of air combat from slow circling dogfights to swift surgical strikes? The battle leaves Jimmy's squadron scattered, breathless, but the seed is planted, what would become a revolutionary combat strategy in the relentless air war over the Pacific. Jimmy's P-38 screams downward, engines howling as he pushes the throttle forward. The altimeter spins wildly 10,000 feet, 8,000, 5,000, the sea, rushing up like a gray-green fist. 3 Zeros cling to his tail, their radial engines growling in pursuit, 20 millimeters cannon fire whipping past his canopy in fiery streaks. You can almost taste the acrid bite of cordite in the air, feel the shudder of near misses rattling the airframe. His squadron mates, veterans like Captain Tex Harlan in the lead Lightning, watch in stunned silence over the crackling radio. "McAllister, break off! You're bait!" But Jimmy doesn't hear or doesn't care. Instinct overrides training. The P-38's twin Allisons give him the edge. Superior dive speed, turbo superchargers biting into the thin air where Zeros falter. He levels at 2,000 feet, yanks back on the stick, and climbs a sheer, power-driven zoom that leaves the Japanese pilots overshooting, their agile fighters wallowing in the drag. In that moment, the bombers slip through unscathed, their payload slamming into Japanese shipping below. Jimmy's reckless pull-away has fractured the enemy formation, forcing the Zeros to chase a single Lightning instead of swarming the vulnerable B-17s. 1 Zero peels off smoking, its wingmen trailing black exhaust. But 2 more hang on, relentless. Back in the fray, Tex Harlan dives to cover his greenhorn wingmen, stitching bullets into an aggressor. The sky fills with the chatter of 50 caliber Brownings, converging in the P-38's deadly nose convergence perfect for high-speed passes. Jimmy glances left. His squadron reforming, the bomber's safe. But his fuel gauge flickers low, and those zeros are closing again. Had this kid from Idaho just stumbled onto the future of Pacific air combat? A hit-and-run energy tactic that turned the Lightning from escort mule to apex predator? Jimmy's Lightning surges forward at 450 miles per hour, the sea a blurring smear below. The two trailing zeros tighten their turn. 20mm shells exploding in puffs of black smoke mere yards off his starboard wing. He jams the throttle to the firewall, but the airframe shudders violently a deep, ominous buffet rattling the cockpit like 1,000 hammers. Compressibility. The P-38's Achilles heel at high speeds, where shockwaves over the thick wings rob all control, turning the mighty fighter into a tumbling brick. Sweat beads on his forehead, despite the sub-zero chill. The stick goes mushy, unresponsive. Training screams in his mind. Never dive past 300 indicated. But Jimmy's no quitter. In desperation, his gloved hand flicks the left engine mixture to cut off prop wing-billing dead. Asymmetric thrust yanks the nose up just enough. The shudder eases. Control returns like a gasp of breath. It's madness, flying on one Allison, but it works. The lead zero overshoots, exposed. Jimmy snaps left, his concentrated nose armament 6. 50 caliber machine guns erupting in a 60-degree cone of lead. Tracers stitch the enemy's fuselage. Fabric shreds, fuel erupts in orange flame. One down, spiraling into the drink. The second zero banks hard. But Jimmy's single-engine trick has bought the energy edge. He relights the dead mill with a flip of the primer, twin engines roaring back to life. Radio silence breaks. "Splash one, McAllister. What the hell was that?" Tex Harlan's voice, equal parts awe and command. Below, the bombers droned on, untouched. But Jimmy's gauge shows bingo fuel, and distant specks hint at more bandits vectoring in. Had this forbiddance maneuver just rewritten the P-38's playbook, turning fatal dives into kill shots? Jimmy banks hard right, the surviving zero matching his turn like a shadow. His Lightning's nose guns track true, spitting a final burst that rips through the enemy's cowling oil sprays like black rain. The fighter mushes into a stall and plummets. 2 kills on his first sortie. Heart hammering, he scans the sky. Tex Harlan's flight reforming high above, bombers vanishing into the distance, their mission intact. But those distant specks grow larger reinforcements. Fuel warning light blinks red. Evasion now, glory later. McAllister, RTB Vector 270. Nice work, kid, but explain that engine trick. Tex barks over the radio, his drawl laced with urgency. Jimmy keys the mic, voice steady despite the shakes. Compressibility had me, sir. Cut the left mixture yanked me out of the buffet. Felt like cheating death. Silence and a low whistle from the squadron. You've got to wonder, in the heat of battle, had raw survival birthed genius? They skim the wave tops homeward, zeros too fuel short to pursue. Guadalcanal's airfield looms palm-fringed strip, scarred by craters. Jimmy grease lands, canopy sliding back to a roar of cheers from ground crew. Debriefing tent hums with questions. Intelligence officer scribbles notes. Single-engine dive recovery. Boom and zoom refined. Word spreads like wildfire through the 347th Fighter Group. Veteran pilots tested in training, hop-shuddering dives tamed, pursuits extended. What began as panic now reshapes doctrine, countering speed. By dusk, higher command takes notice. Major Richard Bong, the Pacific's deadliest ace, radios interest. Jimmy's unintentional tactic, exploiting the Lightning's twin-engine asymmetry spreads via urgent tech orders. But as night falls over Henderson Field, Japanese cruisers prowl offshore. Will tomorrow's dawn test this newborn strategy against the Imperial Navy's full wrath? Dawn breaks blood red over Henderson Field. August 17, 1942. Japanese cruisers slice the horizon, shells arcing toward the strip like fiery comets. Alarms wail. Jimmy McAllister scrambles from his tent, boots pounding coral dust. 40 Zeros swarm from the carrier's Imperial Navy's finest, thirsty for revenge. His squadron, the 339th, fueled and armed overnight, roars into the sky. But today, every lightning bears Jimmy's mark. Pilots briefed on the McAllister Dive, single-engine cutoff to conquer compressibility. Trap springs. Zeros pounce in classic thatch weave, turning tight to bleed the P-38's speed advantage. Jimmy leads the bounce, throttles slammed, diving from the sun. Flaps ready, engines hot. He snaps. Compressibility hits like a wall at 480 miles per hour, tail buffeting wild. Left mixture cutoff. The lightning pitches up violently, yaw snapping the nose onto a weaving zero. 6.5 ocals converge, 490 rounds total. 9 kills logged in 3 frantic minutes. Lead peels away in flames. The weave fractures. Tex Harlan mirrors it. Pairs split, one element diving asymmetric, the other covering high. Zeros, masters of the lugging turn, can't match the boom. Energy tactics reborn hit from altitude. Extend with the Forbidden's dive. Disengage untouchable. Bombers return untouched. Guadalcanal holds. Richard Bong, orbiting above, notches his 6th victory, employing the same. Tech orders fly. Single-engine recovery authorized all squadrons. Jimmy, from rookie to tactician, watches smoke trails fade. But Yamamoto's fleet masses. One more dawn. One more test. October 11th, 1942. Twilight cloaks the slot. Iron baton sounds treacherous channel between Guadalcanal and Savo Island. Japanese cruisers Sendai and Yura hurl 8-inch shells at Henderson Field. Crimson flashes illuminating the palm jungle. Jimmy McAllister, now squadron tactician, briefs the 339th under lantern light. Dive from Angels 20. McAllister dive at redline. Boom the cruisers. Zoom out. 40 P-38s spool up on the battered strip. Cactus Air Force's lifeline against the Tokyo Express. They climb into the moonless night, props clawing humid air. Radar ghosts flicker 60 Zeros from Rabaul, escorting the bombardment force. Jimmy's flight tops 20,000 feet first, silhouettes against the stars. Tally-ho bandits low. Engines scream into dives. P-38s arrowing down at 500 miles per hour. Compressibility claws. Mixtures cut off in unison. Asymmetric yaw snaps noses onto target's zeros, scatter like startled birds, caught flat-footed in low-energy climbs. Jimmy's guns blaze first. A Zero shreds mid-fuselage, pilot bailing into the void. Tex Harlan claims 2 in a scissors pass. The squadron carves through. 8 splashes before the cruisers veer. But a fire erupts proximity, fuses blooming like deadly flowers. 1 lightning erupts in flames. Jimmy banks evasive, relights both engines at 5,000 feet. Zeros pursue, but the tactic shines. Energy retained, pursuits extended impossibly. Dawn reveals wrecks dotting the slot, Henderson intact. Word rockets to Admiral Yamamoto. American fighters defy physics, turning dives into death traps. He orders Zero pilots retrained in boom defense, but too late. Jimmy lands to cheers, mission tally. 12 kills, no bombers lost. Yet scouts report a massive IJN battle line massing for the slot. The decisive clash looms. Can the McAllister Dive hold against the combined fleet? April 18, 1943. A cool dawn breaks over the Solomon Islands, concealing a secret within its light. Jimmy McAllister, now a seasoned ace, stands among his squadron at Henderson Field, the weight of years etched into his face. Today is unlike any other intelligence has cracked the code revealing Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto's itinerary. the architect of the Japanese naval war effort. A squadron of P-38 Lightnings, handpicked and trained in the deadly asymmetric dive tactic Jimmy helped perfect, prepares to intercept. The engines roar into life, the twin Allison power plants humming with lethal precision. A team climbs rapidly into the misty morning sky, tracing a route to Bougainville Island, where Yamamoto's transport flies unsuspecting. Jimmy's heart pounds not just with the fury of combat, but the burden of destiny. The briefing echoes in his mind. This is a kill mission, no mistakes. At 9:34 a.m., radio silence breaks into action chatter as the P-38s slip into formation around the target. The Lightning's unique twin-boom design cuts through clouds like a blade. Yamamoto's plane is a glowing beacon in their sights. Jimmy's guns ignite in a deadly burst. 50 caliber rounds tearing through the fighter escort, piercing the admiral's plane. Flames erupt. The transport spirals earthward into the dense jungle. Yamamoto's reign of terror ends in a fiery crash, a casualty not just of war, but of lightning-fast innovation born from a rookie's first fight. The squadron turns for home, shadows long on the jungle canopy below. Victory tastes bitter. Yamamoto's death deals a crushing psychological blow to the Japanese Navy, but the war is far from over. Jimmy knows this is the price. The new era of aerial combat born from his instinctive dive will ripple through history, shaping battles to come. The skies have changed forever.